Strategic Hotbox with Dr. Brandi Love Stankovic. Discussing leadership, business, and how to take control of your life and achieve greatness. From the streets of Las Vegas, energized, informed, and never diluted. It's time to kick some ass.
Welcome to Strategic Hotbox. It's your girl, Dr. Brandi Stankovic, and I am here with my good friend, Mike Reuter. Hello.
Hey, Brandi, how are you?
Good. We are going to talk today about giving is everything. Let's get started. At the Strategic Hotbox, we've talked about donors. We've had Carly Wund here talking about fundraisers and storytelling. We've had Danny Dawson here encouraging everyone to find passion in their causes. And I love this topic of fundraising and philanthropy. So many people support causes that they believe in. And today we're going to talk about what really needs to happen in order for people to take action and give. And we have a very special guest and rock star here with us that's doing exactly that and is going to share some special stories. But what does it mean to truly give? I think that answer is subjective, and for every person is a little bit different. Some people give their time and some people give money, and it always depends on that emotional connection that people have to the cause. I think that today, being socially conscious or supporting the socially responsible organization or being active in that is become the norm. In fact, it's moved from like hipster to just normal, right? No longer is it like a hipster mustache type thing. It is something that most people are doing, and because consumers love it. It creates loyalty. It is something that all of us that feel something for inside our guts. The number of nonprofits do continue to increase, and the needs of individuals, communities, and tragedies, unfortunately, also is ever increasing. So sometimes as an end consumer, as an end person, as a human, it's hard to know where to focus or who to support, or if you wanted to, how to get involved and where we should do that. And some of the fundraiser champions out there, for those of you that are in that role, it's hard to engage people in that charge. Getting them to take action a lot of time requires more than just a phone call like the good old days, right? Or more than just a website, like build it and they will come. No, right? We've got to be able to engage people, and what does that look like? And it really is about that emotional connection. I remember when and I may have shared the story in the Hotbox before, I'm not sure, but I remember I was 30 weeks or so, I think. I was extremely pregnant with Andrew, my youngest. And so I was like a duplex. I was going to say a house, but I wasn't. I was more of a duplex, walking around, and I did a hospital tour for CMN Hospitals, Cranes for Kids. And the impetus for, or the reason that you do a hospital tour is to get the individuals on the hospital tour to feel that emotional connection, and then of course to give to CMN Hospitals, the Children's Hospital. And so I take everyone on this hospital tour, and we go through the NICU, and the babies that were there in the NICU were younger than the baby that was in my tummy. And in that moment, I had like a complete meltdown, as I'm sure you can imagine, and just the emotional impact it had on me and the people, of course, that had to witness my emotional breakdown, and just all that. That kind of connection for me, and then of course the subsequent things that where my kids have been a part of that is just it. I will forever have a soft spot for that organization, and anything that I can do to give and be a part of it is important to me. And you can't replicate that. You can't replicate those moments of connection, whether it's, with what my son and my involvement with my son with the hospital, or that moment when I took him there inside my belly, or any of that, or when people are part of an organization. I shared, but very early on, I think it was our episode number 2, we had some friends from AIDS for AIDS Nevada, and I remember working a booth for them years ago, and people coming and giving quarters and change out of their pockets, saying, this organization saved my brother's life. Here is everything that I have. And those moments are moments where people are believing in the story. They're believing in the effort that the organization is charging and leading and driving. And that's that connection that we hope all of us want to make. It's really engaging in those personal stories. So then how do we, as champions of a cause, try to create that connection for someone if they don't personally have that connection? Because a lot of people want to give and can feel and and want to support things that they don't necessarily have a direct, maybe it's more of a 6 degrees of separation versus a direct connection with a particular cause or experience. So I'd like to bring in Michael Reuter. He is a giving guru extraordinaire to see how what his experience is in this regard. He's the executive director of the Worldwide Foundation of the World Council of Credit Unions, also a DE. We have so many DEs here with us, a development educator, 10 plus years of nonprofit and executive leadership experience. You're also really involved in strategic development, donor relations, and storytelling, and you're an expert in all things donor recognition, retention, and acquisition. So that's a really important part of this as well. You've got your bachelor's in history and a master's in public history, which I think is really fun. But best yet is you have 2 twin 6-year-old daughters. Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's probably providing the best experience that you'll ever have. So welcome.
Thank you, Brandi.
How are you?
I'm doing great. My first time ever to Las Vegas. So
No, it's not.
It is.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. How cool is that?
Yeah. I'm being Wisconsin born and raised. I'm a little bit unused to the heat and the humidity.
Oh,
but
I'm
sure. Used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it humid?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
It must be a weird day outside.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just sweaty.
It's a bizarre. Well, when it's 100 degrees, it's sweaty regardless, right? Yeah.
Right.
So tell us about you and your journey. What are some things you've learned along the way?
Have empathy. Always try to see things from another individual's or institution's perspective to try to really step out of yourself and to really try to truly understand, the issues, the goals, the mission, the strategy, and how that's going to help improve people's lives, I think. And not just doing that from a professional sense, but in a personal sense as well. In my daily, weekly, monthly, annual interactions with friends and family, colleagues, people I've never met, and then just being authentic, following, being a true leader and giving the people that you work with, whether they work under you, who you work unilaterally with, even the people that you work for, ensure that that you're continuing to be authentic and continuing to support them.
Yeah.
You're a support resource.
Yeah.
For them, from a leadership perspective.
Did you know that always, or have you?
No, you learned it the hard way, right?
Yeah.
Trial and error. Read a lot of books, took a lot of webinars, took a lot of courses when I was in graduate school, when I was in my bachelor's degree and master's degree. But some of it was innate. You treat others how you want to be treated. So I think there's a lot of innateness to that too.
And history, that's really interesting. So history probably supports storytelling in what you do.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot of storytelling in history.
Yeah, history to me is all about how do you make a connection? How do you connect the past? How do you make the past relevant to the present and to the future? And how can a community leverage history to continue to grow, to improve the quality of life for the people that live there?
Yeah.
I think that's all the way down to the individual.
So the Worldwide Foundation, that it sounds like it has a broad reach. It's a global. Tell us about the Worldwide Foundation, a couple programs within it.
So the Worldwide Foundation is the official charitable entity to support the World Council of Credit Unions, which is the Credit Unions International Trade Organization. So our mandate, our mission together with the foundation and with the World Council is to grow credit unions worldwide, to really help credit unions bring financial services, well-being, and freedom to people that need it and deserve it. So underneath all of that, the foundation has a couple of really dynamic programs. They have the Global Women's Leadership Network. I'm rocking my
I love the pink tie.
This is the hallmark icon of the Global Women's Leadership Network. And the network is all about advancing women in cooperatives. It's all about empowering women, inspiring women to act, to take hold of the place that's rightfully theirs in their community, to take on leadership roles that they maybe had previously felt uncomfortable to take on because they've networked with a peer in their community, or they've been a part of the network and they're having a dialogue with a partner, with a colleague a half a world away. I think having that global conversation about these issues, which are so on the forefront of all the dialogue that we're having in society today, I think the Global Women's Leadership Network is right there in the center as a catalyst for change.
That's
for
awesome.
women worldwide. The YCUP program, our Young Professionals program, is all about passing the torch to the next generation of credit union leaders. As we all know, credit union leaders are leaving the industry. Many of them are retiring, moving on to other roles. And so we as an industry are responsible for ensuring that we continue to fill the leadership pipeline. And so how can we engage these bright individuals, these innovative individuals immediately? Let's not wait until it's their rightful place in line. We need to engage them and put them in leadership positions now. Credit union industry and just society as a whole doesn't have time to wait for these young professionals to have an opportunity to take that seat of leadership.
I love that. We've actually had several individuals from both the Global Women's Leadership Network as well as the YCUP part of the Hot Box here. We've had Sue Mitchell, of course. And then we actually had a Wonder Woman series where we had Catherine Davis and Shauna Richardson, an Athena winner. And so we've had several that have crossed over. And then on the YCUP side, the World Young Creating Professional side, we've had Paul Norgrove, the United Kingdom. We've had Tyler Valentine. We've had a bunch. So and shout outs, of course. As you know, am very passionate about both of those programs. So thank you for all that you do for the sustainability side of developing that. And that both the programs that you mentioned are really interesting in that they require both the volunteerism of people's time, as well as donors with money to create sustainability to help people all over the globe. So how do you create an emotional connection when you talk to people about initiatives like that?
I think it's multi-layered. I think, the best way to create an emotional connection, if the opportunities can present itself, and I think that's a key role of the foundation, is to create and provide these opportunities, is to take people into the field, to bring people into a situation, to invite people into a situation where they can have a dialogue with their peers from countries halfway around the world, to talk about similar issues, to brainstorm, to find solutions to complex challenges that are prohibiting them from taking that next step to leadership, or to being able to be given the opportunity to lead a particular strategic initiative, obviously through the credit union lens, through these two programs. So I think those are some key ways that we can continue to grow the experience offering, the engagement offering, and the foundation is the key vehicle to provide this, what I like to call a global engagement menu. So within YCUP, within Global Women, and within some other programs that the foundation heads up, we want to continue to present really innovative ways for institutions, but more importantly, individuals to support financially, to give of their time, talent, and treasure. Yeah.
No doubt about it. And I think that's part of the challenge with donor relations in those types of areas. Right now, fortunately, unfortunately, it would be really unpopular for someone to say, no, I don't support women. Right. And so that now, are there individuals out there in the world that would say that? Sure. But it's unpopular. And so whether or not that translates into donating time or money is a different story. But on the other hand, with young professionals, it isn't as unpopular to say, I'm not ready to invest in a young professional or in that type of methodology. And so it's when there isn't an obvious. So it's one thing to say, here is someone that is a child that is in need of this medicine. Your dollars provide that medicine. That is such an obvious connection. And it is your child, donate, that type of thing. When there's a less kind of obvious, do you create storytelling? You said you take them into the field. Do you just try to have other individuals tell their stories too? What could people do to apply some of those learnings? Yeah,
it's a dynamic mix of a little bit of everything that you just said. So obviously the most tangible way is we take them into the field and we give them that hopefully life-altering experience that gets them to commit for the remainder of their careers or lives towards this particular initiative. I think the other piece is to hear it firsthand from individuals whose lives have been changed because of the programs. The foundation just had an individual whose life was changed because of our disaster relief aid fund. And so we had the opportunity to have him share his story in front of our donors at the World Credit Union Conference in the Bahamas a few weeks back. And so that really was empowering and inspiring. So I envision with Global Women's and with the YCUP program, case studies of women and young professionals being able to be given the opportunity to retell their story and how those particular programs through their initiatives have been able to change their lives.
Absolutely. And they're more long-term effects. And there's also kind of the fear of if you don't, that the impact of that as well.
Yeah, you never want to lead with if you don't.
Right.
But sometimes, depending on the situation of the audience, I mean, sometimes that's the better better card to play, so to speak.
Right.
You know, what would the world look like without credit unions? What would the world look like? What would communities look like without the impact of the Global Women's Leadership Network or YCUP? So I think that's an important point to make.
I always think to myself, it would be so much easier if someone, every time I picked up like a hamburger or something, would just punch me in the face, right? Because then, no, hear me out in this. I know it sounds a little crazy, but because then I would feel the immediate impact of the negative things that that's doing to my body, right? Because it's more of a long-term impact, but in the immediate, it feels positive and whatever. And then the long-term effect is it's not positive. So if I could get a more immediate impact, the same would be true in a program like this where you're investing in the future.
Correct.
There might not necessarily be an immediate impact.
Right. So like you said, I mean, it's really as short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And I think those are the hierarchies of the stories that an entity like our foundation have to be equipped with across the Global Women's Leadership Network, YCUP, the Global Classroom, disaster relief, so on and so forth.
That's great. And so is there a tipping point? Do you find it, because the Worldwide Foundation has many programs throughout the years beyond the two that you've highlighted, but is there tipping point moments or maybe in other experiences you've had where someone then does take action and give?
Yeah, absolutely. When you get, and I'll use two examples. When you get what I call a major donor, a major gift contribution, and you know immediately that those funds are gonna be able to transform a particular initiative of a program or evolve a program to the next level that is ultimately going to affect positively a certain number of individuals or communities around the world. I think that's a powerful piece. I think the other piece that's maybe a little bit unknown or unseen is when you get a large quantity of what we tend to call, I mean, every dollar matters, right?
Absolutely.
Literally. But when you get a smaller dollar amount contribution from an individual and those stack up to equate to a large sum of support that then equates to the same amount of impact, I think there's a lot of gratitude and there's a speciality to that.
Yeah. So it's the culmination, the synergy that's created of the every dollar piece. So there's cooperativism in that.
Yep.
The other side of it is also, I think there's sometimes a moment of competitiveness that can happen.
Yep.
That's a really positive spirit that can occur in event-driven donor environments. And I like that can happen too, especially if people have the means to be able to support, to be able to have some recognition with it. And then at the end of the day, it's supporting a really positive, program or cause.
A new value proposition that the foundation has used as a platform to speak to storytell to donors, individuals, institutions, CUSOs, whomever within the credit union space is really the head and the heart hypothesis. Credit unions have a heart, right? They have people helping people, living the cooperative values of concern for community and forwarding the movement. But then there's also that heart side is how can this time, talent, treasure, if I leverage this to support something that the foundation is doing, how is it going to help grow my initiative? How is it going to help grow my credit union or help me reach my members or develop my staff? So the foundation is really pivoting towards a really balanced approach in terms of, hey, we're always going to be about forwarding credit unions and helping members through credit unions. But we also need to, I think there's also another piece where we have to offer a global engagement menu where credit unions and donors and CUSOs and individuals are feeling like if they're going to invest in us, we also have things on the menu that we can invest in them too.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah. So it's a mutual beneficial relationship.
Right. It's not pure 100% philanthropy. It is very much a blend of philanthropy and also value proposition.
Yeah. I love that. And then, like you're saying, you're it's with the head and the heart, and it also becomes mutually beneficial. And in addition to that, I love that you use the term menu and the fact that not everything is for everyone. And so how can you find something that speaks to different individuals?
Right. It's not a one size fits all approach, as I think a lot of nonprofits just in the general space do. They have a sponsorship program and you have to fit within a certain tier. Well, our approach is it's kind of like my favorite holiday, Thanksgiving. The foundation sets the table, right, for the guest, and the guests are our donors, institutions, individuals, system partners, and they are invited to purchase something off the table, to eat at the table. And then we tally up what those elements are, and we put a cost to it.
So you're saying at your Thanksgiving, I can have an entire plate of mashed potatoes
Absolutely,
if I wanted.
absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
That's a perfect way to say it because it is, it is different for every single person. So what are some new channels then for giving? Are you seeing some trends in digital or in person?
Digital for sure. One of the things that we're tinkering with right now is a tool called Give Lively, which is a text to donate. So, at events like the GAC, WCUC, other events, it's an easy way, again, to engage the individual. I think that's a really strong element that we're investigating. And then the crowdsourcing, the GoFundMe, for special projects, because the World Council through the foundation is consistently approached from credit union systems worldwide with, could you help us with this particular initiative? And if it sits outside of our traditional projects and initiatives that we support, we'll look at it. And then if we decide to take it on, we usually have to apply a unique fundraising tactic that sits outside of the traditional base of support that we get.
And then I also love the programs that you have, like the Global Good Card, where from a consumer perspective, it makes it really easy. All I have to do is use my card. Right. And then I'm also, at the same time, being able to give back. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a vehicle it's one of the tools in our toolkit. It's one of the plates of food on our table, so to speak. It's a really easy way for the individual member or the credit union employee who are card holders to make a global impact and a global difference by providing a level of interchange revenue that kicks back to the Worldwide Foundation. But it's also great for the credit union who adopts it because they're able to attract Gen Z and millennial demographics.
Anybody who's socially responsible in that realm. Right. So what do you think makes you good at what you do?
I think I have an ability to tell a good story, to again really create that balance of this is why this is good for your heart and your soul as an individual, as a business, from a social responsibility perspective, but here's also why it's good for you from a head perspective too. So I don't just always lead with the heart. I mean, I'm very much a heart and soul kind of guy, obviously, but I do see the value. Again, having empathy to stand outside yourself and see how is the donor, how is this institution or individual going to benefit if they decide to support Global Women's or YCUP or the foundation overall. So I think I do a good job of kind of creating a full circle approach. So, because
not everybody that you talk to is leading with the heart.
Correct.
Right. So some executives, some organizations want results only.
Exactly.
Right. And so you need to be able to go in and adapt.
Right. How's this going to help grow my bottom line, or how's this going to help me grow my membership? We have field engagement opportunities where the CEOs can weave that into their professional development program. If they want to incentivize high performers, they can come on a trip with the World Council, or they can be gifted a Global Women's Leadership Network membership. Be sponsored for a YCUP scholarship. I mean, it's
So if we gave some tips to the end users, for those friends and people that are listening to us today that are a consumer that want to pick a cause and don't know how to narrow it down, what are some tips to be able to narrow their focus?
I mean, there's a lot of websites out there that have search engines that are able to allow users or potential donors to search by particular topics of interest, whether it be international development, like our foundation is involved with, or human interest, or children's charities. There's a lot of resources that a donor can leverage by using the Google or the worldwide
the interwebs,
the World Wide Web to be able to narrow that broad net of charities and charitable causes that are out there.
And then they also can examine whether it's dollar donations versus time and that type of thing. And then if I was an individual that's a champion and trying to get others to take action and donate, what's something that I could do a little differently?
There's a method that in fundraising called peer-to-peer fundraising, where it's I wouldn't say it's arm twisting, but it's an individual who's passionate about a particular initiative can partner with a charity, and they can start up their own little what we call microsite and have a page that then allows that individual to tell their story and allows them to articulate their passions for the cause, and then they can build out, this number of dollars goes to this particular initiative to help grow this larger cause or help supports this particular nonprofit, and then they can start to leverage that peer-to-peer fundraising model page through social media, through text messaging, through through a variety of channels.
That's great. On a very small scale, I did that for the coming up to the World Council Conference this year on Facebook. Yep. I started around my birthday, one of those Facebook, things for YCUP, and set a modest like $500 goal. Like, hey, I just want to raise $500, and I hit it pretty quickly. And then one of the steering committee friends said, "Oh, you need to increase that." And then next thing you know, they're all piping in saying you need to increase it. I'm going, look, I didn't ask for your opinion. Secondly, how does this, whatever. Next thing you know, I'm being challenged that if I don't raise $1,000 or $1,500, that I needed to publicly do the what's that? The floss?
Yeah, right.
And I'm going, okay, well, it's now back at you. Right. So if you don't also, and so next thing you know, we had a bit of a competition. So it was great. Yeah. We ended up raising some good money for it. So those can be really effective. So any funny stories to finish us off?
I travel quite a bit with my job, and so I see all manner of customer service, I would say, snafus at airports around the country. And I happened to be coming off a plane in San Francisco, and there was one individual who just was continually, unfortunately for the employee, was very displeased with the service. Mm-hmm. But so this individual just kept going at it, and then ultimately you had the people behind him standing up for the employee. And so you had this whole group of people that were kind of like crowding around this disgruntled customer. And ultimately this disgruntled customer didn't get what they wanted, and ended up, it was time to board the flight, and this person ended up just being at the back of the line. So there's just a lot of
is that like karma?
It is totally karma. 100% karma. 100% karma. Yeah. There another story of it was a good story, a funny story, not funny at the moment, but we almost left a field engagement participant in Africa. Just miscounted the head count and left the hotel, and the person luckily had one of our staff members' cell phones and said, "You left me behind." And
goodness!
And we had an escort, so we had to turn around the entire caravan.
Right, with the police and everything. Wow.
Yeah. So
well, at least it's funny now.
It is, yeah.
After
the fact.
And at least it wasn't in the field, like at the orphanage or something. Right. It was at the hotel.
It was, right. That would not have been a funny story.
So one bold action item or takeaway?
Just continue to inspire, continue to have empathy for individuals. Always be grateful, both in work and in life. I think those are foundational bedrock principles that we all should be living by.
Thank you. And if people wanted to get a hold of you, how could they do that?
So you can get a hold of the foundation at its website, doglobalgood.org, and you can reach me at my email, mreuter@woku.org.
Excellent. And we'll put that information out on our site as well.
Brandi.
Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Let's head out to our shout out.
This is Lena Giacomopoulos. I'm coming to you from Thessaloniki, Greece. So welcome, kalos ήρθατε. Shout out for the hot box. Hope to see you all very, very soon, whether it is in Thessaloniki here or any part of Greece.
And thank you to Lena, our friend, for giving the shout out. Perfect for our episode here talking about the Worldwide Foundation. So thank you to Lena again, and thank you to Mike. Our top 5 kick-ass. It's our favorite time. Number 1, how perfect is this? Do good. Do global good. It's time for you to figure out your focus, to figure out what's right for you, and figure out how you can do good in the world to give back. Number 2 is being socially conscious overall. How do you give back to the people around you? How can you feed the team? How can you feed the pack? How can you give back to the people that helped you and supported you along the way, the next generation? Number 3 is, I think, aligning your giving to your own values, your inherent values, or the strategy of the organization. The more that you can do that as a champion, as somebody that's trying to collect donations from organizations or people, the more that you can align those stories and those donations or the purpose or mission of the cause that you're trying to feed with their own values and purpose, the better, because then it becomes like a non-decision. Of course, I want to support something that's aligned with my life, aligned with my values, aligned with my purpose. And so align as much as you can, because then everything flows so well together. Number 4 is to experiment. And I mean that a couple different ways. 1, try some things out, volunteer a little, get around, do your thing, get in the field, immerse. And also the other side of that is be experiential in your storytelling, in your ways of sharing with the people that are donors. Share stories, give back stories. Here's how your dollar went and was impacting the people that we serve. Here is how you have then supported this organization or this community. And number 5 is, of course, share your own story of how this organization or these different causes have impacted you personally. There's your top 5. Kick-ass. Thank you again to Michael Reuter for being here with us on the Hot Box. And thank you to Lena for the shout out. That was really great, from Greece, all the way from Greece. I love hearing her talk in Greek as well, speak in her language. We'd love to hear from you here on the Hot Box. If any topics that you'd like for us to cover, just hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at Strategic Hot Box, or Facebook, of course. We're out there, or email podcast@strategichotbox.com. Until I see you again, get out there and kick some ass.